Hey, Brett here. So I'm going to manifest again. And what I'm really saying is I'm going to preset the conditions for the distraction that is me talking while I'm shaking. Here we go. I've got a couple, and I'll explain why coming up. So the first one, listen, be the quantum foam. Get the first sample to select and instantiate a universal shape relationship template to keep your interaction just on the edge of paradox. That's one. That was a good one. I like that one. Yes. Well, in fact, I'm missing one, so I'll go with this one. The next one. Now, this is a report in from a parallel universe. And by the way, in my world, parallel universes are empty, so it's connected. It's just a different universe, different reality. And what I mean by that is I recorded this last night. I went through and created something that I'm sure was amazingly elegant. And you didn't see it because I forgot to press record. So there you go. Structural trauma, body armor, chronic bracing, fascial knot, neuromuscular guarding, fascial adhesions, myofascial trigger point, somatic dysfunction. And actually, I don't like the word dysfunction. Dysfunction is a value judgment. Here's the thing. I'm going to start shaking. Let's start with that dysfunction thing. So first of all, okay, all words are empty. So if you do not have any kind of association with the word dysfunction, great, don't worry about it. But dysfunction tends to be used in a net negative way. Now, it doesn't have to be. If you have no association with the word other than its meaning, dysfunction, but also I want to suggest that dysfunction sounds like it's wrong. And okay, there's no dysfunction. The body is doing what the body is doing based on its current conditions. That's not dysfunctional. It may not be what you want, but the thing is, it doesn't matter what you want. The body just is. The body's doing what it wants to do. So dysfunction is an ego judgment on something that it shouldn't be. Well, that's a dysfunction. Shouldn't be there. Regardless of whether it should or shouldn't be there, it is there. So the reality is, if you are saying something of if you're saying something about yourself and you're calling it a dysfunction, and you're weighing the cultural weight of the interpretation of that word, you're rejecting yourself. And believe it or not, the words you use matter. Now, here's why. I want to be clear about this. Very much like if you eat white rice and your blood glucose doesn't jack up, but I eat white rice and my blood glucose does jack up, my body has a natural reaction based on whatever. It could be genetics, could be epigenetics, whatever. My body has a state where if I receive that input, something happens. Same thing with words. If I have a relative, like for example, a great example, but I like to say the phrase, I don't care. Problem with that is, I don't care generally is interpreted as dismissive. And I've been trying to habituate the phrasing, something like I'm detached from that. Problem with that is way too esoteric. So I'm still working on it. But actually, as I talk about this, the thing that occurs to me is something that is an observation as opposed to a judgment. So for example, if I'm sitting and meditating and something happens, I don't try to stop thoughts. I try to observe them. Ah, that's a thought. A common misconception of meditation is you're trying to quiet your mind. Not at all. No, you're trying to train your mind so it can be quiet. Notice, just flipped that on you, didn't I? When I've been doing deep work, or when I've been, say, just doing housework, when I've been cleaning my body and cleaning my kitchen, my body noise, and which includes my brain, turns down. If your body noise is low, your implicit critic doesn't have to yell at you, right? Because your implicit critic is your inner body trying to communicate, and it has to find a signal strong enough to get above the noise. So when you turn down the noise, the body calms down, the inner critic calms down. So by actively spending time paying attention to your thoughts, you get used to them and you reduce your reaction to them. And all of a sudden, you can disassociate from the thought or from the word, and rather than actually acting on it, you can observe it, and then by the observing, you're keeping the signal noise low, so you can keep observing, which allows you to take in more, which allows your body to then, or your brain, whatever, to then do higher order pattern or shape recognition. And so really what you're doing is you're allowing the brain to take samples to fill in enough space from a universal shape relationship template, instantiate it into your brain, and then allow it to fill. And by doing that, by allowing that space to expand before you start filling it up, when the information comes in, it's going into a bigger space. Volume-wise, it goes up by the cubed of the relationship. Is it 3/4 pi cubed or something? 3/4 pi r cubed or something like that. I don't remember what it is. So naturally, you can take in more and you can fit it in more. So don't be the second, don't be the first to talk, be the first to sample. Be the quantum foam. Wait a little bit, listen, get the shape of what's going on. In doing that, you're taking in the first input, but you're waiting for it. Just like our senses, you're producing quantum foam right at the edge of reality, waiting to start the satir interaction model in an infinite loop of co-creation. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty good distraction material, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to give you a more practical field report, because here's the thing. High abstraction is fun, it's great, but it's also, it can be as noisy as low abstraction, right? If I'm talking all these highfalutin words and you're just hearing all this stuff and you just want to be, Brett, shut up, I want to shake. Well, okay, stop watching the video and just shake. You don't need this crap. I don't need this crap. I need the shaking, but I don't need the rest of the stuff. So just shake, don't watch the video. But notice then, back to the word thing. If another good example, the word God used to bother me. And the reason for it is it was used as a vehicle of punishment and eternal damnation for years. The implication of eternal damnation, imagine this, universe is forever. You come in for a blip and then all of a sudden forever after that. Okay, so there's a couple problems with that, right? Problem one is we're mixing empty and universal, right? That is now and infinite time. So that right there is an impedance mismatch. It's baloney, right? That logically, I reject that right there. But also, here's eternity. I'm here. There's some time before me. How can there be eternity after me? And so, again, the whole notion of like eternal damnation is, in my mind, a tool used to basically turn you into a perfectionist machine, which guarantees your inner critic is going to be yelling at you. So therefore, you're being controlled by yourself. Someone is using a bootstrap metaphor, a virus, a meme, injecting it into your brain, eternal damnation with fear. Fear is a strong emotion because it's survival bias. And so all of a sudden now you've got all this noise in your system because of the fear, because if you do anything wrong, you're eternally damned. And so you have to worry about everything. And so it is naturally an agitating thing. Drop it. If you're in a hole, and you're digging it, just put the shovel down. Because if you stop digging, that's better than continuing digging. It's not great, you're still in a hole, but the hole's not getting deeper. And when you do that, you've switched from consuming to storing. And the way I do that is shaking. I said I was going to get concrete. Let me go back to that. So I'm currently wearing my HRV monitor. I took a reading beforehand. It was 42. I did some analysis, blah, 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 whatever. Then normally I just take it, do the paradox diaries, take it after. I'm actually wearing it. I've got a continuous stream over there. My HRV, according to my software, is 41 with a current pulse of 106. Those numbers are irrelevant. So this is showing a calculated formula, but I'm going to take the raw data and have it analyzed and then time sequence to figure out, like right now I'm shaking. Then when I do something else, I'll go click a button and then I'll be indicating that I've changed what I'm doing. And then it'll allow me to track what activity does what to my HR. So point to point, and then also before and after, and then in the morning. So that's kind of the approach I've taken. I'm going to keep doing it. My data is very strong, also falsifiable. So, just shake, it works. Now, the thing from the other parallel universe that I didn't record, the thing I was talking about was these trauma nodes. So let me go ahead and go into that. Since I said this last night, I might have trouble repeating it, but I fell off a train bridge when I was, I think, 14, landed on my back. And when you do that, first of all, I survived. All right, so I could have died, probably could have died. And I'm not being melodramatic. I'm just saying the body protected me by yang locking, put a lock in my back right here. It's right here. It's better than it was, but I want to be clear about something. One, it's never going to go away, and that's fine. Okay, actually, it will go away when I die, but it's there. It is a quote dysfunction. No, it's Alice. Alice? Yeah, in fact, one of the things I've found that helps with my proprioception is if I've got a particularly problematic spot, when that spot is flaring up, I give it a word. In fact, I'm using nouns, Alice. If I keep doing that, what I am doing is I'm associating a ongoing feel by focusing on it and giving it a name. It's just a label, like all things are labels. I could have called it banana, it doesn't matter. But the point is, much like a physical act of putting my hand on my stomach and then breathing to control myself, I train my autonomic system, say, hey, oh, you're calming. I'm training my pattern recognition system to say, when I'm in a certain place, like I'm having a certain experience, and it's in a certain area of my body, name it Alice. And I'm forming neural connections, and that makes it easier to focus in on that. And a lot of what I want to do is I want to be able to, like right now, I'm feeling the position of my body and how it's affecting Alice. So let me change a little bit. I'm going to open up my hip flexors. I'm going to be more bouncing. And that feels different. Though it's going to bother my hips a little down here, the point is I can now go to it. First of all, I don't want to have like a bunch of names. You know, if like, for example, my solar plexus is named Bruce because he popped last night. But again, I want to be clear. These are all little mental games because I'm trying to use different modes of association to increase the neural density of the proprioception through multi thought, sense, feeling, whatever. And so then this allows me the next time to focus in on Alice more. That allows me to feel those senses even more so. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the quantum foam at the edge of Alice, and through shaking, I'm probably loosening her up a bit. Okay, I apologize, that was inappropriate. Through shaking, I'm adding stochastic noise to counteract that lock. And here's why that's important. When I fell on my back, as I said, my nervous system probably physically locked the bodies. Now that is like a tight lock. It doesn't let go because it was an emergency protocol, and the body, once it's instantiating it, it's not going to let it go. What that does is that means it increases noise, it increases low continuous ATP usage. So it is a ongoing stressor. Have a bunch of those, stress your body, guess what? Adrenal fatigue, death. I mean, we're all going to die, but my hope is that when I die, I'm healthy and I'm dead. That's my ideal idea. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I'd like to have happen. So the physical lock of my back, for years, I didn't even feel it. I didn't know it. I didn't know I had the problem. I knew I had a stiff back, but I never thought about the train. I mean, if you think about it, I fell 17 feet off a train bridge right onto my back. Of course, I was passed out because I blacked out before falling over because I had a heart murmur. But it doesn't matter. The point is, I didn't notice it. And then I started stretching and it started hurting a little bit, right? And so I learned how to manage and maintain it. And I want to say managing and maintaining is a lot of what I'm doing here. This shaking is a generic sort of body reset. I'm feeling heat all over my body. So I'm actually working out a lot of tension in my body and my system. And I'm sitting at 41 HRV and 106. But this is a maintenance protocol. And if you look on the ground, I'm going to pick this up. My neck is also messed up. I'm completely fine. But if I simply wear this when I go to sleep, I will not get a headache when I wake up. I can mess up my neck when I sleep, but I have no pain right now. So a common problem is if you get a body part into a fixed place and then just hold it there forever, it gets stiff. Well, because of neck damage, my neck gets stiff. That helps it. So I'm going to wear that tonight. So I use the state of my body, and then I use tools to try to balance out the effect. And I don't think it is dysfunctional. I think of it as reality. It's what is. And I mean, you can label it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You either deal with it or you don't. The label is irrelevant. The only reason the label is relevant is if it somehow helps you. But if you have negative associations with the label and then you point it at yourself, you are using the neural connections of the negative thoughts and pointing at yourself. So I would suggest you consider an alternative, but you are picking your own adventure. You are playing your own game by your own rules. However, I've got the manual to start changing those rules. I can tell you from personal experience, and I'm not selling you anything. Right here, this is the basic practice. Shaking is going to help your parasympathetic system, parasympathetic nervous system. At least it does mine. My data supports it. It's going to help you sleep. So all of a sudden, I will say this, in order of priority, psychological issues first. And this is a priority system. Do what you can at that level. If you can't do anything at that level, next level down, sleep. Notice we're not to shaking yet. After that, nutrition, what you put in your body. And then finally, exercise. Now, I'm not suggesting that you fix one and it's fixed. No. Consider those as a priority order. If you have something at the top level and you can address it, address it. If you can't, work your way down, work your way down. So it's a priority system. But I would work the loop in that order. Psychological, sleep, food, and exercise. Sorry, my brain just had a pause there. It was like, wait, what's the last one? Oh, I'm doing it. It's what I'm doing. So I think my body was just saying, well, you're demonstrating it, so don't waste your time saying it, right? Who knows? Let's see, I'm gonna check my time here and switching. Okay, I've probably just about been a little over 10 minutes. I think I've covered that pretty well, but I guess I wanna go back and emphasize one thing. Again, so in its synopsis, Falfa-Train bridge, my body, I hit really hard, back. I've named that Alice because I'm working on that part of my body and I want to have the association so I can maybe get a better sample. I'm not trying to fix anything per se. I mean, I am, but what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to negotiate a contract between the upper brain and the lower brain so that when we use that word in a certain context, it has a certain association to speed up proprioception. That's the idea, nothing big, right? So basically I'm using my understanding of how my body works to suggest things to it, just like when I started, by reading that original statement. And this statement, let's see, I'm going to read it again. Listen, be quantum phone. Get the first sample to select and instantiate a universal shape relationship template to keep your interaction just on the edge of paradox. I think I covered that whole thing. It was over there underground. And then we just talked about the paradox nodes, and I'm getting the essentials from last night. So the karmic input from a parallel universe is allowing the echo in this reality. And that reality is, again, I fell off the train bridge. When I locked my back, that's a huge yang force. You would think yin, or if we're thinking about physics, opposite force. Problem is, I fell off the train bridge. That's a lot of force. If I try to pull the opposite force, I will rip my entire chest cavity out. Doesn't work. So then what's the best I can do? I can try doing linear stretches, and they have helped actually. I do believe that the linear stretching, specifically releasing my trapezius muscles through pretzel arms, cliffhanger, and wide dog, loosened it enough so that shaking could start to do its work. I think shaking would have helped as well, but honestly, just like the brain does parallel processing, linear and wave collapse, this is the wave part, the stretching is the linear, right? So it's a combination of linear and graph and linear, the simultaneous execution, and whichever one wins, wins. And then you have to figure out which one to stop. Your brain knows how to do it. I haven't had enough situations where I had two things, one was so obviously better than the other that I tried to stop the other. In fact, my general default mode is if I have A and B, I prefer A and B as opposed to A or B typically. That is, I like hybrid solutions because most systems are simultaneously simple but reflective, so complex, and hybrid solutions make representing complex systems like that much easier. I've really done enough shaking, but honestly, I'm going to stay here for a bit because it feels good. So I'm going to go offline for a second and just shake. And I'm going to slow down while I do it. Whew, that was good. That was worth an extra minute or two. I'm getting tingles all the way down my thighs here, head, arms, inside arms, sweat. My body's just, I'm with the sweat, I'm releasing toxin. I'm probably releasing microplastics, I think, through my skin. So sweating is one of the best ways you can combat the introduction of microplastics into everything. Okay, time to stretch. I don't have a plan for stretching, so I'm going to front splits. That's it. That's what came to mind, so I'm going to do front splits. Okay, here we go. Oops, I'm going to get set up, and then I'm going to change. This thing. I do like this thing, but it is at times awkward to keep it in an upright position. And by this thing, I could be myself, or I could mean this chair that I'm messing with. It's all the same. All right, I need a pad there. And this should be sufficient. This is the minimal set for me for an elevated front split. Okay, now, the elevated front split, I find for me, allows me to get far deeper into the deep six. I believe that's where I'm hitting. So this is going to be fun and intense. And part of the reason why I'm doing this tonight is I've had a number of somatic releases, top to bottom, just through various parasympathetic activities. And so I'm basically going to put the body in huge stress in terms of discomfort while simultaneously breathing deeply. That, coupled with all the stuff I've done today, it's going to put my body into, I'm overloading my body so that I know what I'm doing. I'm tightening up my whole body and then relaxing. And I'm signaling to my body, okay, we're going to sleep now. And it's going to ramp up the repair service going on. And as cute as that sounds, biologically, that's exactly what I'm doing. You want to look at medical science, that's fine. You want to look at Western or Eastern traditions, it doesn't matter. But that's what I'm doing, and it's measurable. And how is it measurable? Heart rate variability. Speaking of which, I'm going to change to stretching on my computer here over here. All right. Deep flexibility. Heart rate 115, HRV 41. So my heart rate variability is maintaining consistently and at a reasonable place while my pulse is going up. Think about it. The faster the pulse, the heart rate variability is a measure. So that means that actually, as my heart rate goes up, if my heart rate variability stays consistent, I believe that means that the actual range from top to bottom is even higher. And I'll have to check on that. Okay, front splits. I'm going to go ahead and do the right leg first. I think I'm too close to that wall, maybe. I'm going to have protection for my left patella. I'm going to have my shin on the ground, left shin. I'm going to bring my right leg up to the chair. And then I'm going to make sure that I don't feel any pressure from either the clothes that I'm wearing or the edge of the chair, because I'm deliberately turning down my nervous system. Actually, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and start this and I'll talk through it a little bit. Okay, right here, right there, I've already got a really good stretch in my hips, hamstrings, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and get in this for a second. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm in the stretch, I was going to gab. Forgot what I was going to gab about. I'm just going to stretch. I'm feeling just a bit too much pressure on my knee. If I can adjust, I will. If not, I'm going to stop the stretch. Actually, you know, it hasn't been long enough. I'm going to stop the stretch. And I'm going to do something to be, I normally don't do this, but on the front split, since it's such a deep split, a deep, steep thing, I just did 40 seconds. I'm going to do 40 seconds on the left side just for symmetry and then go back. I'm just going to do that. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I'm just going to do that because my intuition says do that. So here we go. In fact, I'm going to actually be accurate about this. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's better padding. Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, my left side is already way open, as was my right side. This is when I actually do this on the right side again. When I go for 5 minutes, I predict. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Stop that. See, that's an example of sampling. I'm sorry, of making a shape, a universal shape relationship template decision without any information. I was about to say something along the lines of how I was going to perform. You know what? Who gives a F? I don't need a model to predict what's going to happen because I'm going to do it and then it will happen. I don't need to think about it. I just need to do it. So here we go, 5 minutes. Actually, 6 minutes. Oof, that's going to be, actually 5 minutes. Since I've already stretched and I've already done 40 seconds on each side, and even though I don't recommend reps, I do prefer a little bit of symmetry on deep, especially on the deeper stretches. So now I'm very deep in again. My knee is good and the timer is on. Hello, kitty. Now, if you look at my arms, they're bent. And I normally say, try not to bend your arms. I'm not actually pushing, I'm barely pushing up with them. This is more a balancing technique. If I needed to support myself, I would lock my arms out. In fact, I'm going to do it right here because I want to hold this and I'm trying to keep my torso as still as possible. So by locking out my arms, I'm actually, if it's not easy to see, but my arms are touching my rib cage. And so my rib cage is protected by my arm, which is connected to these handles. So this is a way to structurally support myself. And by doing that, I don't have to worry about my body as much. And that allows me to focus in on the nastiness, or in this case, talk about the nastiness to avoid dealing with it. But I need to check my foot rotation because I'm feeling pressure on the outside of my knee just a touch. So my foot needs to go up and down instead of rotating outward. Lateral rotation, rotation from the center outward, medial rotation into the middle, medial middle. So if I laterally rotate my foot that's being stretched, it's going to put a weird torque on the tendons on the outside of my knee. And right now I feel nothing because I made an adjustment and there's no problem. Ah. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Boy, near the end there was something I wanted to mention, and it's gone. Oh, geez, that's loose. It almost feels like like the backside of my leg there is almost got cold for a second there. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it was just like a cold flash. Oh man, that was insane. Now, interestingly, I'm pretty certain that was a very, very deep stretch for me. But I'm in a pretty calm mood, and so it's more observational than. And sometimes when I come out, I think I mentioned this. Sometimes when I come out of a stretch, there's an involuntary, and I was kind of thinking that it was my body was anticipating pain, but no, what's doing is I'm building up a whole bunch of force in my body, and the release, the more I release through multiple modes, tension, voice, and so on, the bigger the stretch most likely was. Now that's if it's natural. If I force it, no. If I force it, that's the ego trying to be performative, I suspect. I don't know about that, but that seems like a reasonable interpretation. Look, I'm recording myself. Look how good I am. I'm hurting. And no, that's baloney. I want a real experience. And the way to do that is to try not to do anything. Honestly, I wonder if I could do this. Ooh, that's insane. Okay, let's not do that. That would be a good thing to work up to. And here we go. My God, my hips feel wide frickin' open right now. Seriously. Okay, I'm starting to notice a bit of a pull in the right arch, my right foot, the arch. That really means I've got things tight along the entire leg system. Leg system makes a lot of sense. Leg from the right to the left. Hey, kitty. The obstacle is the way. The reason I started using this chair for elevation was because I have a slightly injured left heel from doing either this stretch or pancake. And so I found an adjustment based on that pain. And as a result, I'm actually getting a deeper stretch than if I'm on the ground. It might be that this ultimately is not as deep as a raw on the floor front splits. I suspect that's actually not the case. But given where I was, given my shape constraints, this particular form of the pose happens to me to work better, for me to work better. Your results may vary. Some assembly required. Okay, that's a bit much. No, that's way too much, in fact. Okay, pull back, pull back. I'm fine. But I could start to feel some resonance. It was like, oh, that's going to start to be a cascade effect. That is the reflex response, which means the spindles were spinning up. I assume that was they were doing, not spinning down. That's why when you're doing deep flexibility, it's a 7 out of 10. If you go, you'll know when you go too far. It's a very specific kind of experience. And so you'll do it a couple of times. That's how you figure out what your edge is. That's how you sample the quantum foam. You go too far in, you get a little foam on the nose, and then the next time you don't go quite as far in. And so by entering and exiting the quantum foam, that is the edge of pain, you slowly learn where it is. And the better you are at sampling, i.e. the more proprioception you have, the quicker you can respond. Faster feedback reduces the likelihood of you going too far, too fast, and having a cascading response of inconvenience. I'm gently rolling side to side because I'm trying to capture more of the muscle fibers. If you've ever taken a fingerprint sample on your phone, you notice how you press in the middle and then you get the edges? That's what I'm doing. It's just, that's more of a digital experience, and I'm trying to go more analog by rolling side to side gently. Same idea, discrete time, continuous time. Muscle fibers, digital computer screen. Well, my pulse is at 95 and my HRV is at 39. Oh, dang. That right hip flexor got some stretches, and everything got stretched. Oh, okay. Now, I've actually extended my hip flexor. You notice I'm holding my arm up here. If I let my arm down, I'm going to compress that too quickly. So I'm going to get myself stable. I'm going to switch arms. So empty movement. I'm going to take my other arm, balancing on both of them. Now I'm holding my entire torso up. I'm not letting that hip flexor collapse. Notice I'm slowly setting my knee down, because even moving of the knee, because they're connected, emptiness, could cause pain. I've got a stable base, and now I'm going to simply relax the pressure on that leg before I do a movement. So it was in a lot of tension. I'm slowly relaxing, and then once it gets to a certain threshold, and you'll learn your threshold. And if you ignore your threshold, you'll learn why you shouldn't avoid your threshold. And I'm going to sit back into it slowly. And it is tender, but it's fine now. And so work on proprioception by doing it. And here's the thing. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's working, right? And what I mean by that is your body's sending you signals all the time. And I'm just learning to read it. And I try something. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, don't do it. But the more you can learn how to take smaller and smaller soirees into paradox, the easier it gets. All right. I believe that's enough. Now I'm going to finish with a shake. I'm going to clean my system with a shake. Oh, I'm going to get up very slowly. There we go. Now, back to shaking with a drink of water. Damn. Okay. Now, since I've just stretched my body, I'm going to be a little more gentle about what I'm shaking. I'm sort of just a light bounce, trying to feel what's safe and what isn't safe. Honestly, interestingly, I'm shaking my body, and the sensation I'm getting is that it's unnecessary. I think my body is done needing anything. So I'm going to listen to it. Say goodnight.